Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe, so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Ethan Carter adjusted his backpack nervously as he stepped off the shuttle onto Nexus Prime. The massive intergalactic research station loomed around him like a sprawling city suspended in space. Its corridors bustled with beings from countless worlds, some humanoid like him, others so alien they defied description. He had spent weeks preparing for this moment but still felt utterly unprepared. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," boomed an automated voice over the station's intercom. "New arrivals, please proceed to Orientation Hall C." Ethan followed the crowd of newcomers down a wide corridor lined with holographic displays showcasing the station's achievements. His heart raced as he spotted creatures he had only read about in textbooks, feathered aviorans gliding gracefully above the crowd, crystallines and therians refracting light as they moved, and even a towering Zorvath whose 4 eyes scanned its surroundings with unsettling precision. As he entered Orientation Hall C, he found himself seated among an eclectic mix of students and researchers. The lecture hall was vast, with tiered seating that curved around a central podium. Ethan chose a seat near the back, hoping to avoid drawing attention. The lights dimmed as Professor Viner took the stage. The instructor was an Ulnari, a species known for their multiple limbs and iridescent skin that shimmered like oil on water. Viner's voice resonated through the hall as he began his lecture on human emotional responses. "Humans," Viner said, gesturing dramatically with one of his many arms, "are fascinating creatures. Their emotional spectrum is unparalleled among known species. Today's focus will be on tactile communication, what humans refer to as touch." Ethan sank lower in his seat as curious eyes turned toward him. Being one of only a handful of humans on Nexus Prime made him something of an oddity. "Excuse me," came a soft voice beside him. Ethan turned to see a strikingly beautiful alien girl with shimmering silver skin and glowing teal eyes. Her features were delicate yet otherworldly, smooth ridges framed her face where hair would have been on a human. "I'm Lyra," she said with a warm smile. "You're human, right?" Yeah," Ethan replied awkwardly. "I'm Ethan. I've read so much about your species," Lyra continued eagerly. "Is it true that touch plays a significant role in your emotional bonding?" Ethan hesitated before nodding. "Yeah. I guess you could say that." Lyra's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Fascinating." Before Ethan could respond, Professor Viner called out from the podium. "Perhaps our human guest could provide some insight into this phenomenon." Ethan froze as all eyes turned toward him. He cleared his throat nervously. "Well, touch is important for humans because it helps us connect emotionally. It's not just about physical contact, it's about trust and comfort. Could you demonstrate?" Viner asked eagerly. Ethan's face turned beet red. "I don't think that's really appropriate." The room erupted in chuckles as Viner waved dismissively. "Very well. Let us continue." As the lecture progressed, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He glanced sideways to find Lyra studying him intently. When class finally ended, Ethan gathered his belongings quickly, eager to escape the spotlight. But before he could leave, Lyra caught up with him in the corridor. "Ethan," she called out breathlessly. He turned to face her, surprised by her persistence. "Yeah. I was wondering," she began hesitantly. "Would you mind answering some questions about your customs? I find your species endlessly intriguing." Ethan hesitated but found himself nodding despite his reservations. "Sure. I guess." Lyra's smile widened, a dazzling expression that made her glow faintly in the dim corridor lighting. "Thank you. Perhaps over coffee? I've read it's a popular Earth beverage." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Yeah, coffee sounds good." As they walked toward one of Nexus Prime's many cafes, Ethan couldn't help but feel both excited and apprehensive about what lay ahead. Something about Lyra was undeniably magnetic, and he had a feeling this was only the beginning of an unforgettable journey. Ethan drained the last of his synth coffee, the bitter taste doing little to soothe his frazzled nerves. Lyra watched him, her teal eyes filled with an unreadable curiosity. The cafe hummed with the low thrum of alien chatter and the clatter of utensils, a typical Nexus Prime ambience. "So," Lyra began, breaking the silence. "You find human touch comforting?" Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, usually. It depends on who it is, of course." "Of course," she echoed, tilting her head slightly. "Could you elaborate?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. This was going to be more complicated than he anticipated. "Well, like, if I'm upset, a hug from my mom always made me feel better. Or a pat on the back from a friend when I've done something well. It's reassuring." Lyra's silver skin seemed to absorb the cafe's ambient light, making her appear almost ethereal. Reassuring. An interesting concept. Before Ethan could delve deeper into the intricacies of human emotional needs, his comm device buzzed. He glanced at the display, an incoming message from the Nexus Prime Housing Administration. "Excuse me," he muttered, tapping the device. "Carter, Ethan." "Yes, speaking." A crisp, robotic voice filled his ear. "Mr. Carter, this is regarding your assigned living quarters. We regret to inform you that there has been a slight adjustment." Ethan frowned. "Adjustment? What kind of adjustment?" "Due to unforeseen circumstances, your assigned roommate has been changed. Your new roommate is Lyra Solen." Ethan's jaw dropped. He stared at Lyra, who was watching him with an amused expression. "You knew about this?" Lyra nodded serenely. "Indeed. The algorithms determined our compatibility quotient to be exceptionally high. It was deemed beneficial for cross-species understanding." Ethan groaned inwardly. Sharing a room with an alien girl who was intensely curious about human touch. This had the potential for disaster. "There must be some mistake," he protested to the comm device. "I need to speak to someone in person." "Your concerns have been noted, Mr. Carter. However, the decision is final. Welcome Ms. Solen and make your stay a successful one." The line went dead. Ethan slammed the comm device onto the table, his frustration evident. "This is ridiculous." Lyra remained calm, sipping her alien herbal tea. "Is there a problem, Ethan?" "A problem?" he exclaimed, exasperated. "I'm about to share a tiny room with someone who wants to dissect my every emotional reaction to physical contact. That's a pretty big problem." Lyra's expression softened slightly. "I assure you, Ethan, I have no intention of dissecting you. I merely wish to learn." Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to regain his composure. "Look, I appreciate your curiosity, Lyra, but I need my personal space. I'm not exactly comfortable being a human guinea pig." "I understand," she replied quietly. "I will respect your boundaries." He looked at her, searching for any sign of insincerity. But her teal eyes seemed genuine. "Okay," he said finally. "Okay, let's try to make this work. But please, no sudden touching. Or dissecting." Lyra smiled, a genuine, warm smile that made his heart flutter despite his earlier reservations. Agreed. The shared living quarters on Nexus Prime were, as Ethan had feared, incredibly small. 2 narrow beds, a compact kitchenette, and a cramped bathroom left little room to maneuver. The only saving grace was a large viewport that offered a stunning view of the cosmos. As they unpacked their belongings, the awkwardness in the air was palpable. Ethan carefully arranged his few personal items on his designated side of the room, trying to avoid eye contact with Lyra. Lyra, on the other hand, seemed perfectly at ease. She hummed a melodic tune as she unpacked a collection of strange artifacts, glowing crystals, intricate metal sculptures, and what appeared to be a small, self-watering garden. What is all that? Ethan asked, unable to contain his curiosity. These are items that bring me comfort, Lyra explained. They remind me of my home world. Your home world? Ethan prodded, eager to change the subject from the looming touch dilemma. What's it like? Lyra's eyes lit up as she began to describe her home planet, a lush, verdant world orbiting a binary star system. She spoke of floating islands, bioluminescent flora, and a society based on harmony and collective consciousness. Ethan listened intently, captivated by her descriptions. As she spoke, he began to see her not just as an alien anomaly, but as an individual with her own unique history and experiences. As evening approached, a station-wide alarm blared through the corridors. Red lights flashed ominously. "Attention all personnel," announced a synthesized voice. "A minor atmospheric breach has been detected in Sector Gamma. All residents are to remain in their designated living quarters until further notice." Ethan and Lyra exchanged worried glances. An atmospheric breach could be dangerous, even in a controlled environment like Nexus Prime. "What do we do?" Ethan asked, his voice laced with anxiety. Lyra remained calm. "We wait. And hope it is resolved quickly." They settled into an uneasy silence, the only sound the low hum of the station's life support systems and the occasional crackle of the comm device. After what seemed like an eternity, the synthesized voice returned. "Attention all personnel. The atmospheric breach has been contained. All clear. You may resume normal activities." Ethan let out a sigh of relief. That was too close for comfort. Lyra nodded in agreement. Indeed. Such events are a stark reminder of the fragility of life, even in a place as advanced as Nexus Prime. The shared experience seemed to have broken some of the tension between them. As they prepared for sleep, Ethan felt a sense of camaraderie with Lyra, a bond forged in the face of potential danger. "Good night, Ethan," Lyra said softly, as she dimmed the lights. "Good night, Lyra," he replied, a genuine smile on his face. As he drifted off to sleep, Ethan couldn't help but wonder what tomorrow would bring. Sharing a room with Lyra was undoubtedly going to be a challenge, but perhaps it would also be an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to bridge the gap between two vastly different worlds. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the smell of something vaguely floral and undeniably alien wafting through the room. He sat up groggily to find Lyra tending to her small, self-watering garden, the crystals within glowing softly. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice as serene as ever. "I hope you slept well." "Morning," he mumbled, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "What's that you're growing?" "These are Lunara blooms," Lyra explained. "They only blossom under specific light frequencies. They are native to my home world and their aroma is quite comforting." Ethan watched as she carefully adjusted a small light panel above the garden. He had to admit, despite his initial apprehension, Lyra was proving to be a remarkably considerate roommate. "So," he said, changing the subject, "about what happened before the atmospheric breach." Lyra's teal eyes met his, a flicker of curiosity within them. "You mean the unexpected resonance?" Ethan nodded, his cheeks flushing slightly. "Yeah. That. Do you have any idea what that was about?" Lyra hesitated. "I have theories. On my world, we possess a unique form of bioenergy that we use for various purposes, including communication and healing. I believe our physical contact may have triggered a reaction between our bioenergetic fields." "Bioenergetic fields?" Ethan repeated skeptically. "Is that even a real thing?" Lyra shrugged. "It is on my world. Perhaps human science has yet to discover it." Ethan couldn't help but feel skeptical. Bioenergy sounded like something out of a science fiction holovid. But he couldn't deny the strange sensation he had felt when their skin touched, a jolt of energy that was both exhilarating and unnerving. "Maybe we should consult someone who knows more about this sort of thing," Ethan suggested. Lyra pondered this for a moment.